Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, and freaks of nature of all ages. My name is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson, and welcome to my YouTube. And welcome to Let's Build Treasures of the Dead in UDK. And this is a WIP. It's WIP number 1, the first one. And for those of you that don't know what WIP stands for, that means Work in Progress. So basically what we're going to do in this one is we're going to run through the level so that I can show you everything that I've got built and in the level and functioning and how it functions. And there's a few things that I've added in that I'll go ahead and touch on really quick. So let me go ahead and pop open the Kismet, and one of the things I've added in is crouch gates, and I've also added in some stuff in the player startup. So if we jump into the player startup, you can see I've got that now divided down into camera, flashlight, HUD view, and instructions. Okay, so what I've done is I've set the flashlight to be turned off when the level first starts, but the toggle still works the way it always did. There's also an instruction announcement for that. Press T to toggle flashlight. It's just simply a touch trigger that I've got placed right there. That's the touch trigger that will give us the instructions of press T to toggle flashlight. And what this is going to do is, like on this one, the flashlight will be turned off, and then you'll go through the dark a little bit until you hit that touch trigger. Unselect that, and then it'll tell you how to turn your flashlight on. I also made some instructions. So what this says is that when the player spawns, it's going to put a 2-second delay before this announcement comes up. Now this announcement will tell us turn to look with mouse, then another 4-second delay, which will make this announcement play just a little bit longer. And then the second announcement is move with WASD. Now the other thing I've done is I put in a toggle cinematic mode on this. Now what this allows me to do is to disable things like hide the HUD, disable input, hide the player. All I've got checked on this one is we're not going to be able to see dead bodies or drop pickups, but in here, and that's there by default, there are no dead bodies or drop pickups, but I disabled movement. I didn't disable turning. So what happens is when it spawns and the first announcement turn to look with mouse plays, all you can do is turn. You can't move. Then when this delay stops and it plays the announcement move with WASD, that's also tagged into the disable on the cinematic, which will completely disable that toggle cinematic mode, and then we'll be able to move. The other thing I've done is on any gate with a, let's see if I can find one real quick. Oh yeah, that's up here. This switch right here. Because that switch operates that gate, and there's a camera switch in there, meaning that when we hit that switch, the switch will go down, and then the camera will switch from the player to this camera right here above the gate, so we can see which gate is being opened. So what I've done with that is, if I go ahead and find Interp Actor 9 in Kismet right there, when we touch that trigger 7, when we touch trigger 7, it'll play the announcement press E to use for the switch. When we press E to use, then it'll play the cinematic, and in the cinematic, the matinee, we have our director group, and I will go ahead later on when we get into level 2. There's still some camera switches we need to do in level 2, so I will show you how to set up the director groups so that you can change your camera shot, and that's where the camera shot changes right there. Okay, let's go ahead and hide all of those fucking particle effects. Select, all emitter actors, hide. Okay, get rid of those things because they're going to get in the way. Also what it does is whenever that matinee plays, we hit that use switch, it will enable this toggle cinematic, which disables movement, disables turning, disables input, and hides the HUD, so that we can't do anything until that matinee is complete. And when the matinee is complete, it disables the toggle cinematic mode and it goes back to the character and we can play and move around and do what we need to do. The other things I've added in is I went ahead and I finished adding in all the blood for the blood walls. I got all my blood decals in. Over here I've added in blood decals on the spike traps as well, and over here I've added in blood decals at the bottom of the spike pits. Now you really won't be able to see that blood in the spike pits very well just because of the way the lighting is, but if you fall in there and get killed, you will be laying in a pool of blood and your flashlight will enable you to see that. Okay, I've got these treasure pickups set to pick up by touch, and then I've got the closed box treasure pickup set to pick up with interaction. You have to press E to open those. I've also gone through and made sure that all of my dynamic physics volumes around the fire, around the torches, are active. They all do 10 points of damage per second, and they give a damage type of fire. And then I've made sure that all of the damage zones around the blood walls and the spike traps do 100 points of damage per second, meaning as soon as you touch them, they kill you, you're toast, and then that damage type is crushed, and I've done that with all of those. So let's go ahead and head back over here to the beginning. Yeah, right here we can go ahead and unhide all of our emitters and hit play, and we'll walk through and give this a good quick walkthrough so you can see how everything works. So when we start out, we can't move, we can just turn. And then when it says move with WASD, now we can move. And the flashlight's turned off, so we're pretty much in darkness. And when we go up to this switch, press E to use. Oh yeah, I've also added in all of the runners on all of the gates, and I've added in all of the runners on all of the switches as well. So all the gates and switches have runners. And now we move around in the dark a little bit until we get up here, and then it'll tell us press T to toggle flashlight, so we know we have a flashlight now, and we can still toggle that on and off at will. And then when we get up here, the other thing I've added is I've got gates that are partially closed, but not closed all the way, but we have to crouch to get under them. So for the first two crouch gates, we just hit a trigger which plays the announcement, press C to crouch. And that's on a 3-second delay, so if you wait 3 seconds, you can get that announcement again. But it won't just continuously play, it takes 3 seconds to reactivate. And then this gate has that announcement as well, but I only put it on 2 gates because jumping and crouching is something that you should just remember. Okay, spacebar to jump, C button to crouch. Anything that you have to interact with, I put a prompt on. So all the switches and all the treasure boxes that you have to interact with have a prompt to let you know to interact. Okay, and if I get hurt, then I have a health pickup and it works. There we go. Run back around this way. Crouch under that one. The other thing I did is I made the trigger volume around the gold fairly small so that you can actually miss the pickup unless you're close enough to the gold. So let's say I go on the outside there and hug that corner. I'm not going to pick up that gold. I actually have to pretty much walk over it to get it. And then there's the prompt E to use on that gate. And we can see we've got our runners in on all the gates and switches. That's another crouch gate there, but there is no prompt on that one. You just have to remember C to crouch. And then this will do a camera switch, but as soon as we hit E to interact, E to use, it's going to get rid of the HUD. And then it'll switch cameras, and we can't do anything while the camera's switching. And that is in case, like, let's say we have a fire right there beside us and we know that there's a damage zone around it. So if I don't turn off the movement while the camera's playing and we accidentally hit the A key, then we're going to accidentally burn the shit out of ourselves. It keeps us from hurting ourselves. Just like that. And now the HUD comes back and it's back to the player. And there's our first checkpoint. And if we hurt ourselves, let's do it one more time. And that should take us back to 100 because the reds are 50. There we go, back to 100. And then when we come around this corner, we'll activate the first set of blood walls. And they have blood all over the place, so you should be able to tell upon first glance that these things are deadly as hell. And I think that that blood everywhere just adds to it. It really does. And when I start putting in our props, because I still need to come back in and put props like tables, chairs, debris, and of course dead bodies. So let's say I place a dead body up in this corner here. I am of course going to put blood stains underneath him and on the walls to add to that little bit of realism. And I'm probably just going to put random blood stains here and there where people were wounded, or, you know, just to let you wonder what the hell's been going on in here. Maybe put some blood stains under a gate that won't move, or put a corpse with blood stains underneath a gate that won't move. That would be kind of cool. And then of course the further into the level you go, the more gold you pick up. Basically the way I've got it set up is before the first checkpoint in the first area, the gold pickups are worth 10. After the first checkpoint in the second area, they're worth 20. After the second checkpoint in the third area, they're worth 30, and so on. So the more checkpoints you have, you see there's got blood all over this blood wall too. I like the blood stains. I think that just adds something really cool to it. And then we've got a green health pickup over here. So let's go ahead and hurt ourselves. I did 10. Let's do 10 more. Let's go on the other side of it and just run straight through. There's 10 more. And that's a 25. So, yep, takes us back to 100. Works fine. Let's not forget to hit our switch. There's our camera switch. It's got the cinematic, toggle cinematic on it. Okay, and then it says checkpoint, and then press space to jump. Now I might put another hole in the ground somewhere before here with some spikes or something in it, so that I'm thinking that if that's the only place I have press space to jump, because of the way it's set up, people might miss it. So I might put in another spike trap hole in the ground before here so that the press space to jump is completely independent of anything else and it's harder to miss. And if you press the space button twice, you will actually double jump. So that's a regular jump and that's a double jump. So if you're having trouble with jumping over those spike holes when you play the game, if you want a copy, then just remember that double tap will double jump, and that's a default UDK setting. In default UDK, there's a few ways to jump. Moving and pressing the space bar will do a regular jump. Moving and double tapping the space bar will do a double jump. Or you can simply double tap the directional key that you want to jump in that direction. So double tapping W will jump you forward, double tapping S will jump you back, and double tapping A or D will jump you sideways, which is cool. And that is also default in UDK. Now we've got another 50 pickup there, so and it works. And now our gold pickup is up to 40, which is cool. And of course that one's locked until we get to the other switch. Press C to crouch. Toggle cinematic mode, camera switch. And the toggle cinematic mode is found in the toggle menu, but I'll explain that better when I do the tutorial that shows you how to do that when we're putting in our door animations and our camera switches into level 2. Okay. And we've got so let's hurt ourselves really good. We want to get down to about 10 or 15. We're down to 20, that's good. And there's a gold one there, and full health, back up to 100. So all of our health pickups work just fine. And our last trap is the spike trap coming out of the walls. It's got blood all over it, and the spike trap itself has blood all over it, kind of indicating that we're the first people that's ever made it to these boxes. And I've really seriously been thinking about putting a couple of corpses that are actually attached to those spikes so that when it goes in and out it slams the corpses together. I think that would be kind of cool too. And then that's the end of the level. So that's our Treasures of the Dead, work in progress. WIP for level 1. You got to see the entire level, what's in there, how things function. And when we get into doing more in level 2, basically all we've got left to do in level 1 is just put in our props. And I think I'm going to, for the doors that are closed and won't open, or the doors that are partially, or for the 3 kinds of doors that won't move: closed and will not open, partially open that you have to crouch under, and all the way open and you just walk through. For the ones that are all the way open and you can just walk through, I'm going to put a switch on the wall that's already been moved all the way to the down position to indicate that it's been activated and the door's open. For the doors that are partially opened, I'm going to put a switch on the wall, put it about middle way down the runner, and then skew it to one side to indicate that it tried to open and is broken. And then for the ones that are closed and won't open, I'm going to put a switch on the wall that's at the top position and skewed to one side to indicate that it's broken and doesn't work. And of course those switches won't have any prompts because those switches don't work. But a few props like some debris, trash, rubble, some tables, chairs, maybe some wooden barrels, things of that nature, some corpses with blood stains laying around here and there. The rest of my switches so that all of the doors will have at least one switch. And then of course runners in the wall for the switches I haven't put in. And level 1 will pretty much be finished with the exception of putting in bad guys and activating our shoot code. But that's what we got going for level 1, Treasures of the Dead, work in progress. Please do not forget to check the links in the description below for the Disabled American Veterans and the Wounded Warriors Project. Let's please help support our veterans. If you like the video, then hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends and family to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Please do not forget to leave me a comment. They are always welcome, good, bad, or somewhere in between. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate your time, your support, your love, your encouragement. You guys are awesome. I love every one of you. I love doing this, and I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so very much. And until next time, this is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson saying peace, love, clean underwear, and happy gaming.